everyone, and welcome to our webinar today. I hope you're all having a wonderful morning. My name is Mark Atterby, and I'm the editor of CX Focus. We'll just wait for a few moments for everyone to come online. And while we wait, I would ask people to click on the link if you want to on the bottom left-hand corner if you want to follow CX Focus on our LinkedIn page. I think a number of people are starting to get online. I suppose this the topic for today's event is how to use AI and behavioural science to power your CX and marketing strategies. This is part of a whole series of content and webinars we have planned around AI and its application to customer experience. The next event will be around ethics and how organizations need to develop an ethics policy around AI. I would like to start by thanking our sponsor, Smart Measures. Smart Measures is a churn reduction solution to help organizations retain customers and improve business success. Smart Measures is an innovative AI-based solution that identifies unhappy customers before they churn. With Smart Measures, you get insight into the health of your business, or the health of your customer base by leveraging the data your business already has to identify customers who need help before they leave you. The format of today's event is first we have a presentation by Rebecca Wilson about combining AI and behavioural science. Rebecca has extensive practical experience in CX and EX strategy development and implementation, customer journey mapping, research and measurement, and the application of behavioural economics theory to solve complex business problems. She's helped leading brands navigate the links between marketing, IT, and customer insights through a human truth approach. I'd like to thank Rebecca for her time today. After her presentation, Rebecca will be facilitating an interview-based discussion with Allison Dorogoj, General Manager of Customer Experience and Growth at Simply Energy. Allison is a commercially minded senior leader with over 15 years experience transforming teams, revenue and business models in dynamic and complex industries, including energy, telecommunications and advertising. Allison will share the journey her team has been on to improve their CX and marketing outcomes. We shouldn't be here longer than an hour. For those who are interested, this webinar has been recorded where the presentations will be available after the event. During the event, there'll be plenty of opportunity to ask questions in the right-hand corner of your screen. We also have some handouts, which people have already started clicking on about reducing customer churn and the Simply Energy case study. We've also got 3 polls that we'd ask people to fill out. After the event, we'll be sending out some follow-up material. There'll be an industry paper developed based on this webinar. So now I'd like to ask Rebecca to come on screen and start her presentation. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Mark, and good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is having a fantastic day wherever you are. As Mark has said, sorry, I'm just trying to move the presentation forward. I know a lot of people, we have a lot of people today with lots of different backgrounds on our webinar, so I don't want to make any assumptions about the level of knowledge everyone has. Anyone who's joined Mark and my webinars before know that I really like to start with some definitions. I think it's the schoolgirl debater coming out on me. I'd argue also that AI and behavioural science, or BS as I love to refer to it as, are equally misunderstood and have been tainted by misuse or overuse over the last few years. I've learned a lot about these areas in the last couple of years in particular, and I know many of you are in the same position. I wanted to share some of my most critical understandings in order to provide some foundations and level set before we head into the conversation with Allison. I'm also going to talk about some of the key areas where I've been seeing AI and behavioural science integrated to really drive and accelerate success for organisations. So first is some definitions. AI is really a broad umbrella term. The Encyclopedia Britannica defines it as the ability of a digital computer or computer-controlled robot to perform tasks commonly associated with intelligent beings. It's become an integral part of our lives and has revolutionised industries across the board. Within the realm of AI, two prominent branches have emerged: predictive AI and generative AI. And I certainly didn't understand the differences between these two. So I think it's important to define. The difference really lies in their core functionalities. They both leverage very advanced algorithms to achieve outcomes, but there are fundamental differences that set them apart. So predictive AI analyzes existing data to make predictions. It excels in tasks that require forecasting, optimization, and decision-making, providing actionable insights and really helping us optimize our strategies. It heavily relies on historical data. So we need to have all of the data and much data as possible together in one place to really drive predictive AI engines. Generative AI, on the other hand, and this is really ChatGPT is the one that we're all talking about at the moment, generates new content based on learned patterns. And I guess it's being employed in creative endeavors to generate new content. It utilizes existing data sets that predictive AI does as well, and algorithms. It predicts what the answer would be. My favorite analogy that was just introduced to me quite recently is that it's like an advanced version of autocomplete. It's like autocomplete on steroids. That really helped me understand it a lot more. So jumping into behavioural science, even the tiniest things influence us as humans subconsciously and demonstrate that we are not rational beings. For example, behavioural scientists have observed that holding a warm beverage allows us to feel more warmly towards the people that we interact with. There's a misattribution happening where we feel physical warmth and we misinterpret that as being interpersonal warmth. So behavioural science is the study of that behaviour. It aims to understand what's going on there, why we engage in specific behaviours and make certain decisions under various circumstances. It's very much influenced by two main factors: our emotions and our environment, the world that we live in, the context of a situation. We've known for years that emotions play a critical role in customer experience. In some industries, we know that emotions are more important than the effectiveness or the ease of the interaction combined. And behavioural science helps us understand why and what to do in those situations. It also helps us adjust to the context and the ecosystem that a customer is in. The other thing that's really critical to understand when we're having this conversation is who are the customers and employees of 2023 and beyond? Who are we as humans now? We know that our demands continue to evolve. We're becoming more discerning about where we spend our money. And this is not necessarily just about the current economic crisis. We know that we're becoming more discerning about dealing with companies that help us fulfill our purpose in the world. And that sort of shift has been happening for a couple of years now. We know, And organisations need to understand that our interaction with an organisation is only part of our life. And with some interactions, it's a tiny, tiny part of our life. Again, thinking about that context that behavioural science helps us understand. We have different value drivers and emotional needs depending on the goal of a particular interaction. We talked about this point in a webinar last year, and I'll just really quickly revisit the analogy that I used there. A lot of us go to a barista every day to get a coffee. If we could go there twice in one day and have completely different value drivers and emotional needs, depending on the goal of the particular interaction. We might go to our barista first thing in the morning, running to work, late for a meeting, but we desperately need that heart starter. We want to get in and out. We're not in for chit chat. We'll be polite, but we know what we need to achieve. We'll go back to the same barista later in the morning, perhaps with a colleague as part of a stand-up meeting. We're ready to chat. We hang out with the barista for a while. We want to get as much out of that interaction, from the conversation as we do from the coffee. So we have a completely different goal and emotional need from that interaction. And organisations need to understand and adapt to that. This is a really great one. We want to take matters into our own hand and be in control, but we need to know that the organisation cares and that they will take our hand when we need it. And maybe they take our hand before we even know that we need it. We know that we are paradoxical. The previous point is really paradoxical. We know that we're paradoxical and we think that that is totally acceptable. We are led by our emotions and memories, and organisations have to know how to deal with that. So can we actually separate AI and behavioural science in order to get the results that we need? I argue that we can't. And I'm going to talk about a few examples where organisations are leveraging them together to really get power out of both of them. The areas that they can help in are not new areas to us in customer experience and marketing, but we can do them with so much more power, so much more effectively and efficiently when we think through these things strategically. So the first thing is customer insight and understanding our customers. We know that customer experience is the customer's perceptions of the interaction with our organisation. We know that it's driven by the ease of that interaction. Is it as easy or as difficult as we expected it to be? Is it effective? Are we getting the value or whatever it is that we need from that interaction? And the emotion that we feel during that interaction. A human is hardwired. You and I are hardwired and underpinned by emotional needs. We're much more likely to be driven by what's known as system one thinking, that intuitive, emotional, instant reaction, rather than system two thinking, the rational, measured, and thoughtful. And by understanding the deeper instincts of our customers, the humans that we deal with, we can design better experiences that are more likely to meet those deeper needs and desires. Obviously, the results of that are happier customers who become advocates of our brand and ultimately lead to better returns for our organisation, whatever those goals might be. We can apply behavioural science first in mapping the current experience. We can apply it in designing the future experience, and we can use it in testing the experience for continual improvement. AI can help us leverage our voice of customer data that we already have within our walls. I think a number of people and a number of organisations have been predicting the breakdown of voice of customer surveys for many years. AI is playing a critical role in identifying and inferring risks and opportunities and insights about our customers within the conversations that we're already having with them, and allowing us much faster reactions from the teams that we have and from our digital platforms. So we have all of this data and all of this insight into our customers, finding a way to use all of this information to accelerate growth and optimize every customer touch point across all channels. Again, we can leverage AI and behavioral science in this. Personalization and integration, as this wonderful quote from HBR last year, from the pre-internet dawn of segment of one marketing to the customer journey of the digital era, personalized customer experiences have unequivocally become the basis for competitive advantage. They're becoming more and more critical in cutting through. But the challenge that we have today is that an approach that relies on broad, generalized demographic segments like millennials and Gen Zs, they're no longer working. Our customers increasingly want to be engaged and recognized as the unique individuals they are. So organizations are building what we're now referring to as intelligence experience engines, fueled by that drive to personalize using AI and behavioral science. When we have all of this data and the AI can help us identify customers at an individual level, we can then use behavioral science applications like nudge theory. I think almost all of you will have heard of nudge theory, if not all of you, a concept that proposes positive reinforcement and indirect suggestions to influence the behavior or decisions of an individual. One of the applications where we can use this and it's really critical is in retaining customers. And we're going to talk about this with Allison in a few moments. All of this data gives us so much power, but the language and trust around data is something that is becoming really important. In fact, for customers, the digital trust around data is becoming a priority over convenience. Customers are starting to understand that maybe things will take more time or be more complicated because they need to trust the data that's being used. And we need to use a language around data that customers understand. We need, as customer experience and marketing professionals, to understand the difference. We need to understand not only the difference between zero, first, second, and third-party data and fourth-party data, I think there even is now, but also how customers relate to each of those types of data. For those of you who are thinking, what the hell is that? There might be some of you on the line. It basically, the difference between zero, first, second, etc., comes down to how it's obtained. Zero-party data is the data that is shared with a brand, with your organization, by the customer. Going down to second and third-party data, it's shared with another company through a contractual agreement or aggregated data from a variety of sources. And it's here where the ethical lines get a little bit blurry because we're not sure as customers where that data is coming from. It's collected sometimes without the customer's knowledge, and that's why there's some pushback when it comes to customer data collection for marketing and why customers are unsubscribing from things. I'm just doing some research at the moment on unsubscribing, and if customers don't know where you've got their data from, they don't trust you. So activating the data that we have is what is going to separate the leaders from the laggards. And we're going to see a lot of this in the years to come. So we need to not only understand the data from an artificial intelligence point of view, but we need to understand humans' attitudes and behavior around that data. The third area that I want to talk about where we can apply AI and BS is in our customer experience transformation programs. So these are often challenged on their ability to deliver concrete value to the business. Forrester and others have spoken this year about the number of customer experience professionals who are going to lose their jobs. And it all hinges on them being able to demonstrate the value that they are bringing to their organisations. One of the benefits of behavioural science is in its academic rigour. Being able to prove that customer experience interventions are backed up by science is a real asset in a business context. And we do this by designing rigorous experiments, often using the power of artificial intelligence, the power of algorithms to do A/B testing on the run faster than we have ever thought that we could before. So that importance in behavioural science of experimentation, of having control groups and test groups, is just really critical and can really help drive our return on investment calculations. So we've talked a lot about technology here, but the message that I really want to get across is that we have to keep focused on the human. We must use the technology, the artificial intelligence, to complement our capabilities and our brand, not substitute them. We need to use them to keep learning about our customers and applying that learning to make their lives better. The brands who continually put human realities and needs at the centre of their decisions and investments will emerge stronger. So said Forbes earlier this year. And I'd like to finish this part of the webinar with a quote from one of my favourite Forrester analysts, James McQuivey. We've seen artificial intelligence adoption evolve from an emerging trend to a legitimate priority for organisations. Companies across all verticals and maturity levels are finding opportunities to implement AI. And this implementation is yielding positive results in terms of efficiency and effectiveness, and it's allowing organisations to transform fundamental functions. But we only do this by really leaning into the human element and continuing to apply artificial intelligence and behavioural science ethically. We are legitimately on the edge of a shift in the age of AI that is palpably different. And I really say, thank you and well done for investing part of your day today in learning more about what one of your peers is doing in this space. With that, I'd like to welcome, I'm going to stop sharing my page, if I can get to that bit, and welcome Allison to the stage. Hi, Allison. How are you today?
Thank you.
Excellent.
I'm great.
So I think a really good place to start is for you to provide a bit of context for our audience. Can you tell us a bit about Simply Energy and more importantly about yourself and particularly your role as General Manager of Customer Experience and Growth?
Sure can. So hi everyone, it is really great to be joining you all today. I lead the customer experience and sales teams at Engie under our retail brand Simply Energy. So Engie operates in 5 business to consumer markets globally. That's across Italy, Romania, France, Belgium, and of course, Australia. We've operated in the Australian market since 2005, focusing on pillars around simplicity, value, and sustainability. Our group globally has committed to be net zero by 2045, and our Australian and New Zealand business is progressing activities to deliver against this commitment locally. So we're finalising the sale and closure of coal-fired power stations around the world. You would have seen yesterday, yes, we've rehabilitated the Hazelwoods site and have a battery storage system there that was opened yesterday. We've invested in EV charging stations across Australia, and we're developing a significant hydrogen project in WA. And of course, all our retail plans are carbon neutral, including 100% green power options. So a bit about my role. I'm General Manager of CX and Growth, as I mentioned, and responsible for managing the costs and performance of our sales channels, delivering growth through strategic partnerships, building life cycle operational and retention communications, and leading CX programs such as our voice of customer and journey mapping approach.
So what are your
That's me.
key responsibilities and focus areas?
So the 4 key responsibility areas are sales, so run a relatively large sales team, partnerships, which we've been in a long time. You've seen us probably partner with the likes of NRMA, RAA, Village and others. I also run the communications team, as I mentioned, so that is anything life cycle, retention, communications related, and then of course CX. So combining these efforts is a really deliberate move and really allows us to align our frontline partnership and customer experiences to deliver on commercial objectives, brand promise, and also our high expectations for quality. So it allows me to focus on delivering a profitable customer portfolio and really leading the effort to tailor both acquisition and retention experiences that remain consistent with our
I think it's really interesting, the combination of the customer experience and growth. In a lot of organisations, there can be quite a bit of friction, almost, if you like, between acquisition and retention, for example. So I think it's a really positive move from Simply to have that under one responsibility. So yeah, well done. So we're obviously talking today about using artificial intelligence as a tactic related to some sort of customer experience problem. What was the problem or opportunity that the implementation of AI has resolved for Simply Energy?
So energy is an extremely competitive industry, as many will know, and a few on the call as well, often driven by price. And to grow organically can be really, really tough. So in an average year, 1 in 5 customers will leave their energy retailer, and this can be even higher for new customers in their first year. There is a saying in life, people used to leave because they were unhappy, but now they leave because they think they could be happier elsewhere. We've seen that true across many industries, probably true for yourself in many ways, and the same is true for energy customers. So over 50% of people who leave us tell us they're satisfied on the way out. And we've seen this increase, particularly over the past year, even up to, say, 57% in some months. So every day we're not growing by adding new customers, keeping our existing customers. Not only are we standing still, but we're actually moving backwards from a customer perspective. The good news for us is we saw that just a small reduction in churn could deliver growth for our business. And in fact, this program, I'm keen to talk about ROI throughout the course of the next few minutes, but is now a key part of our growth strategy. And yeah, look forward to kind of going into some more detail.
So why did you go that? You know, that's a problem. I have, as you know, worked in energy and also insurance, and it's really interesting, isn't it, that they're not unhappy, but they think they could be happier somewhere else. Some research that I'm doing at the moment, you know, around trust is saying, well, do I trust them? They haven't done anything for me not to trust them. So I guess I trust them. I mean, it's a real sort of answer, isn't it? And hard to do something about. So why did you go down the AI route, and what role does AI play in your CX strategy and in solving that problem that you just talked about?
Sure. Well, we knew we had to do something different with levels of churn that high, and it had to be measurable to warrant investment. That was really important. So we started with small measurable wins through an AI churn prevention pilot. We started in one state, and once we knew we had meaningful results, we started to scale the program. So we've now invested in predictive AI for the past 3 years with smart measures to target our efforts on saving profitable customers with a communication strategy that's low cost, based on behavioural insight, and is constantly optimised. There's 4 parts to the program that we run. The first one is data ingestion. So we use a combination of internal and external data sources collected from around 40 different sources, actually. And that is over 3,000 signals per customer on a weekly basis. So a huge amount of data being fed into this prediction AI, which is the next part. So on a weekly basis, we collect all of that data and it's fed into the AI prediction engine. It rescores all of our active customers every week to determine which ones are at risk of leaving. So on average, over the last few years, we've seen the prediction accuracy really high, well over the 75% mark. Treatment AI. So once we predict who's at risk, the treatment AI then determines what message a customer gets. So the treatment AI that we use is goal seeking and sets up multiple competing treatments, all vying for that same customer. So for each treatment, the AI decides which plan is going to be most effective to save that customer. And then the final part of what we do is sending the communications or the treatment. And this is where we've used behavioural science to really cleverly construct the messages that will appeal to customers. That
so
might
by
be at risk
treatments, you're talking about the actual message, the email or the text message, or is that what you mean?
Yes, that's right. So a treatment is, a message going to customers, a bit more scientific, this program, so we call it a treatment. And it's very much a service-based program. So we send treatments or messages to customers predominantly through email, but also SMS and on occasion letter as well.
So how important was it for you that this was not just a data solution, but one that blends behavioural science?
Yeah, I love this. So you've all heard the saying, with great power comes great responsibility. And that's how I see AI and behavioural science working together. So all of that data I mentioned, AI gives you a tremendous knowledge about your base with high accuracy. But what you then do with that is really important. So that's where we use System 1 and Systems 2 thinking as the behavioural insight that helped us to keep customers by encouraging them really to stay in a neutral zone, rather than poking the bear or getting them to do something such as leave. You briefly mentioned this, but as a recap for us, so System 1 thinking is that fast, automatic and intuitive response. It feels effortless and is the type of thinking that allows us to quickly recognise a friend's face or make a snap judgment about a situation or solve a simple maths problem, like 2 + 2. So it just happens without that conscious effort or control. Systems 2, on the other hand, is slow and more deliberate. It's analytical. It's the type of thinking that requires focused attention, manual effort, and solving more complex things like 19 + 27. So we get there in the end, but we really feel the gears start to engage and turn. So Systems 2 thinking is what we use when we're faced with a complex problem or unfamiliar situation, or we're getting a customer to weigh up a particular option. So as marketers, CX professionals, and even our frontline agents, both systems can be used to our advantage. A bit of a story, if I can. So when we first started the journey a few years ago, we didn't have a behavioural neuroscientist crafting our messages with us. We had a creative agency that was great. We asked them to prepare a campaign or a treatment. We called it a campaign at that stage, where we were going to give a cohort of at-risk customers that have been with us for a while, that we deemed at risk, a $50 voucher and a message saying, "Thanks for being a loyal customer. We appreciate you." It was well crafted, had no catches, but it didn't work. So these customers at that moment did not feel loyal. So what in fact happened is that we tipped them into the Systems 2 thinking by responding with something that didn't match what their issue actually was. And not surprisingly, that one had a negative impact, which led to customers leaving. So we've come a long way since then and have had great success, even recently offering a partner membership benefit to a cohort of at-risk customers. It was more about them, not us, crafted with nudges in mind, and has improved churn by 45% versus the control group. So the other learning that's present in a lot of our treatments is offering a priority number for our customers to call if they need us. We have a specialist team that can assist them. It has to be low effort for the customer. So the agents taking these calls are trained on the program. They have flagged what treatment or message the customer has received and what they need to reinforce. So while we've had really strong success off the back of these treatments, offering the priority call, customers don't necessarily use it. We have less than 3% of customers actually calling us off the back of that message. So really, I think for this one, the perceived benefit is just as valuable as the actual benefit.
And that was one of the things when I heard about this, and I think a lot of people, so there are a couple of things to pick up on there. First of all is a roadblock that a lot of people put in the way, or the first thing they think of is, well, our data isn't all in one place, or we have legacy systems. It's really hard to get data out of. Did you have that sort of problem?
We did. The data setup did take some time, and actually was one of the early challenges. We did have frustrations along the way, particularly around automation, but we persisted. So data was stored in many different places, but yeah, we've now certainly been able to build that into a central place, and we're constantly optimizing and building.
And I think it's also important for a lot of people to understand that this, and I know that, you know, it's a roadblock that existed, you know, maybe 2 years ago, but now AI engines have come such a long way that they can ingest data in a much simpler way than they used to. So yeah, it's really something, it's a roadblock to move past pretty quickly. So what have you learnt from the experience that's influenced how you might think about future customer experience and marketing strategies?
Reflecting on this, I think I've learned that what people say they will do and what they actually do are two very different things. And as marketing and CX teams, we can sometimes be skewed with what we think will work. And you saw that with the loyalty example I gave just before. So the action off the back of those insights is that it's really important to test everything in market at a small scale before putting something to production to your customer base. We did this recently outside of the churn prediction program with our first year retention strategy. I mentioned that churn can be higher in that first year. So we spent some time testing a whole range of tactics over the course of 6 to 12 months to see what was going to have an impact in churn in that first year. So once we knew what was having an impact, we've put only those interventions or customer communications in market at scale, and is having now quite an impact in that first year churn piece.
We're getting some questions coming in, which is fantastic. Some webinars people don't ask any questions, and we wonder what's going on. Some of them have been answered by Mike Crooks from Smart Measures, who's the brain behind because they are quite technical questions. So the first one was, how often do we optimize the predictive model to get the level of accuracy we are, and what metrics do we use to improve? And Mike has answered that it's constantly tuned and retrained every week, and it's fed by a rapid test measure system, so treatment and control groups. And I know that the treatments are retested, so they go into test, if you like, and there are certain parameters that they need to be successful, or we don't put them into production, and then they're retested every 6 months or so to ensure that they're still effective. There's an interesting question here before we move on to, well, actually, maybe it sort of aligns with the next question that I had for you, Ali. So maybe I'll ask that, and then I'll come to Ian's question. So what have been the most important considerations when implementing sort of a technical customer solution, if you might think about it, powered by AI?
A couple of considerations, and I'm sure, Mike, you can add to the chat as well around these technical considerations, but we touched on it earlier. Access to a complete set of data from day one was really challenging. It took time for us to build this, and we did experience roadblocks along the way. It is a huge amount of data, as we said, 40 sources now, or close to, that's 3,000 signals per customer. Internal and external data sets. So that was a really, and again, why a pilot was so important is to really start getting the right, the right processes and data sources set up early. And we keep monitoring that. So we do get new data sources from time to time, and those will be fed in. One of the recent ones we've just added to our mix is NPS off the back of our after-call surveys. So that's been one of our relatively new additions to the data set, which is great. Another consideration I think is really critical across any of your marketing programs, but this one in particular, was building strong governance early.
Right.
So we had early issues during the pilot of things like quarantine lists not being set up or incomplete, recontacting rules weren't necessarily agreed to. So catching these learnings very early and correcting them before you reach scale is important, because it meant we ironed out a lot of the bugs early. And when things went to scale, we had our ROI model agreed to, we had our governance frameworks and alert frameworks set up. So that really is critical. And just a final thought is, sharing the small wins. This is new territory, and I think being really transparent on what's worked and what hasn't worked. I love sharing when we turn a treatment off, because it no longer is performing. It's a great message to say this resonated 6 months ago and we had amazing results. Not so much now. The environment's changed, the conversation has changed about energy, and things don't always resonate. So turning things off and things no longer performing is a really great win that I love sharing across our business.
We've been, customer experience people have been banging on for years about how important it is to continually research our customers and understand them, because we as humans are changing. But as I was referring to, when you can prove that by science and say, we've tested this and that message is no longer making the difference, the huge difference that it did just 6 months ago, it sort of makes people sit up and go, maybe we should be doing that other stuff as well. So why do I love Ian's question. He said, I'm guessing AI wasn't the hot topic that it is today when you were making all of these decisions, because you've been on this journey for a while. There are lots of new players. Why did you choose Smart Measures as a partner to start with? And will you stay with them when other organizations are sort of knocking on your door and saying, hey, maybe we can do that too? Or even internal people saying, oh, we could probably build that.
Yeah, it does come up from time to time. I think where this is, I think, a very safe investment for us is we've demonstrated ROI very early on in the program, and we continue to improve that. So from that perspective, it is a true partnership with Smart Measures. They have, learned our business in a very detailed way along the way, and we've, I suppose, optimized and improved the program together. The other part of it is really been transparency across the organisation with the program. So we have always said what the program is and what it isn't, and I think that's been really critical. Just picking up on could we do it in-house? It does come up again from time to time. We've invested in Salesforce and Genesis, and there's Braintree and a whole range of Einstein and a whole range of other things that can be used, but the beauty about Smart Measures is that it incorporates internal and external data sources. And I've never seen the accuracy to the level that we have seen. So the retraining that Mike spoke about, and the power of the algorithm that the team has built is really effective.
You've mentioned ROI a couple of times. Can you talk a little bit more about what, how that, from your point of view, how that's calculated, the sorts of results you're getting without giving, you can give away what to the level that you want to give away?
Yeah, sure. So we wouldn't have justified the investment over the past 3 years in Prediction AI without a strong link to ROI. So that was the whole purpose of the pilot, was getting a model set up. We're currently delivering well over $3 to $1 return on the program, and I'm really proud of the result that we've been able to get through continuous optimization. So how we calculate it? Well, every week we report on the number of customers that we've saved. To convert customer saves to a benefit dollars delivered, we started a few years ago reporting on customer replacement cost avoided. So because we'd saved these customers, we didn't have to replace them. They weren't coming out of, the leaky bucket. But the reality was in our business that we didn't change our approach to acquisition, and we didn't change our budgets to getting more customers. So it was a bit of a contentious measure, and one that we were really happy to work with our finance and commercial teams to work through what was going to be more effective. So we changed our commercial model from reporting the benefit as this customer replacement cost avoided to retain profit. It is a more conservative way to, but also a more accurate way to measure the impact of our program. This approach was worked through and endorsed by both our finance and commercial teams, and it also went to our CEO. What it has done, though, is led to business-wide buy-in. And whilst we debate various things around our churn and what's going on, what's not now questioned is the ROI and the measurement. So we now can shift our conversation and really, elevate the conversation as to how we treat, what new groups we've got, where we've seen churn spikes, where we might need to add additional messages in. So that was, a really valuable exercise, and I can't stress enough the importance of getting that buy-in across the
So it's a more
commercial
conservative
teams.
measure, but you're still getting a 3-to-1 return. That's pretty amazing.
Yes. It is really.
I love your point about you just don't have those conversations anymore, because so often, and I'm sure there's a lot of people on the line who will recognize this, we spend so much of our time as customer experience practitioners just trying to justify what we do. For you not to have to continually do that, leaves you to do stuff that really makes a difference rather than continuing to have the same conversations again and again. So
that's right. And I think it's, the seat at the table super important for us.
What were the things that you have considered in relation to, what things have you considered in relation to the implementation of AI and behavioural science when building your teams?
We've actually moved the program ownership and governance, so to speak, from our marketing team to our CX team. The reason we did that is really to maintain the service approach. This is a truly service program. We are wanting to meet the needs of our customers. We are wanting to help them through priority calls, etc. So it was really important for us to, kind of take it from a marketing team and put it there. So that's been really great, and continues again to lift the bar overall on CX, as really mentioning before, as that seat at the business performance table.
So before, we've got lots of questions, and Dave has
I can't see
quite correctly,
so I'm
suggested that I'm not answering or looking at the questions linearly, a word. Anyway, we're going to come to the questions in a moment. But before we move on to those, what would be the most crucial advice, just in summary, that you would offer to someone starting out on this AI and BS journey?
So I think is really starting with your small wins, I think, is the key one. Really, build your governance models, build your frameworks, get all of the infrastructure there. The second one, I've reinforced this a few times, but determine the right ROI measure for your business and get endorsement from key teams such as finance and commercial, and share the progress. So I think the good and the bad, and really just bringing transparency to where you're at with your AI and behavioural science journey.
Okay, thanks. If you can see the chat, Ali, if you open that, you can see the questions, but I'm going to run through them, so maybe you focus on answering them. So I think as I said, Mike is answering some of the questions, and Libby Dale as well is also in the chat answering some of the questions. So Libby has answered this question, but I'd like to ask you as well, how suitable do you think that this approach could be to improving credit and or debt management?
This is a great question. I was hoping would come up, actually. I'm just going to bring a few of my notes up here. So I saw a survey presented by Experian, I think it was last week. It highlighted, challenges around cost of living and affordability. So 1 in 3 people seeing money as a significant cause of stress, 1 in 4 people struggling to make ends meet, and people experiencing hardship, actual hardship is the highest it's been in 3 years. So this is, a few are dabbling in it now, and we are also commencing our journey on this. And I think, if we can do prediction and early intervention with genuine help for customers experiencing affordability issues, it's something I absolutely am keen to see within our business. So this is the next phase for us, I think. We've kind of got retention or churn prevention. We've got an optimised program. We continually learn. It's certainly not set and forget. But this is the next space for us to turn our attention to. It is a genuine, affordability is obviously a genuine concern, and this is a really great opportunity. But I don't think anyone's nailed it yet.
It goes back to that, the point that I was making about our interaction with an organisation is only part of our life, and understanding that whole affordability question and what that looks like for different people. It looks different for different people. And, that whole thing about it only takes one life event for somebody to slip into being a vulnerable customer. So any sort of prediction and behavioural science, I think, behind that will really elevate a brand above others. So, okay, just moving, I'm looking, we've got 8 minutes to go. So we talked about, Sarah asked, did you build your own AI model? I think we've answered that. No, you've partnered with Smart Measures. What specific measures do you use to measure customer sentiment? Maybe not related to the AI model, but do you have anything?
I hope this answers. So we do look at sentiment. We have analytics across all of our calls, and we do look at that. So our voice of customer program is quite extensive. We track NPS, of course, customer satisfaction, first call resolution. We do a lot across social listening and monitoring as well. We've increasingly now on our journey measurement, we're looking at customer effort. So that is a really important metric that we're working with, and in fact are looking at what we call a Simply score, which measures our customer journeys across a lot of customer sentiment and experience metrics, how agents, simple it is for agents to help a customer, what systems are involved. So have you got multiple systems? Is it one? Is it seamless? And then business, kind of, is there a risk associated with the business if we get this wrong? So our Simply score measured across those 4 key areas, absolutely customer by far, and the metrics in there is what makes up the vast part of our journey measurement.
Just picking up one little bit that you said there about for your teams and your agents in contact center. One of the things I didn't touch on in my presentation that I'd love to talk about another time is AI and behavioural science for employee experience, and how there was a great story I was just reading on LinkedIn about what IKEA in Europe have been doing in implementing AI, but retraining their staff and understanding what engages their staff. So anyway, we won't go down that rabbit hole because we'll be here all day. Yeah.
I'll put that on our roadmap as well. I love it.
How do you, so from Shalini, I hope I've pronounced that correctly, how do you initiate the use of behavioural science on the data sets across different business units to ensure that every business unit heads were in alignment with the overall customer strategy and objective of driving CX across the business? Was it across the business, or was it done in stages with a pilot in one specific business unit?
I hope I answered this. So do prompt another question in chat if I haven't. So from a messaging perspective, so our treatment development, we do that every couple of months with stakeholders from across our business. So we have our insights manager, we have operations teams, we have marketing, customer experience, and product representatives. So it is cross-functional. We look at a whole range of insights and data that would lead to why we might need to look at treatment gaps or why we might need to look at other messaging. The other part that we do is we survey our customers that are part of our program, churn prevention program. So on a weekly, we use both weekly online surveys, and then we do a biannual phone-based survey to detect underlying customer sentiment and attitudes to different messaging. So that's really helped us, again, position the strategy of what we've got in market at that particular time. To bring that to life, an example that came through the surveying process was that our customers saw us as having a responsibility to communicate industry knowledge and being at the forefront of being able to help customers with concession information or why prices may be changing or what government support may be available. So we didn't always see ourselves as necessarily playing that role, but it came through quite strong in the research at various points, and we, off the back of that, developed new communication messaging to fit that gap. Again, that was tested. Some worked, some didn't, but it goes through that rigorous process of getting something out in market.
Fantastic. Sorry, Libby's been very active in here answering questions, which is fantastic. Kate said that, just a comment, taking notes like wild right now. So good. Thank you, Allison. So absolutely. So I think people have answered the question about, maybe you could just, Olivia asked a question, so maybe if you can just answer it from Simply's point of view. What did you oh, sorry, it has been answered. I just read it. It was, sorry, what did you say you moved to as a measure for ROI from replacement cost avoided? I think retained profit. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Profit,
Are there any other questions? How do you, here we go. Here's another question. So we've got a couple of minutes left. So this might be our last question from Bree. How do you balance answers given via surveys? And this might be broader to your Voice of Customer program as well, Ali. How do you balance the answer given via surveys, which generally give System 2 responses, people do think, with System 1 realities? So that whole think, say, do gap that you mentioned earlier. How do you balance, how do you deal with that in your program?
That is a great question, and you're right. Definitely more coming from a mindset of System 2. You've provoked, an interruption in just what would be kind of an automatic response. So it is one of many things that feed in, and it's the reason we do these treatment design workshops, and we bring in insights and data points from around the business. The phone and online surveys absolutely form part of that. And to be honest, just help us tweak and optimize and refine. It's not usually step change. Something that came through our survey process was that links in SMS were increasingly causing mistrust, which we know, but this was a little while ago. We were putting, so we've tried to dial that down in our SMS messaging. If that's the channel used, we've put, obviously more trusted links, no shortened links and that sort of thing. Yes. So it's just a balance between what comes through, but I wouldn't say it's a step change necessarily. And again, go through the process. Everything gets tested against control groups. So it's a very low risk and thorough approach to putting anything out.
Okay, one final question. I think we've got a minute. Thank you so much, Ian, though, first. One of the best informative, interesting, exciting, well-presented webinars I've seen in ages. Thanks from Ian. Thank you so much, Ian. That's awesome. How much focus do you pay on future customer journey redesign using AI and behaviour science to improve retention and reduce churn? And if you could give a couple of examples in less than 60 seconds.
This is a big focus for us. I wouldn't say we're super advanced in this area. It's certainly something we are fast tracking. So we put a lot of effort into our journey mapping approach and working with our broader business around service design blueprinting. So that is a really key focus. An example is our onboarding journey. So we've spent a lot of time looking at pain points, looking at proof points for future opportunities, and going back to the measurement of that journey. So many months ago, we've started tracking simplicity for the customer in this journey. It's led to a whole range of improvements, some of which we've implemented, some of which are in our pipeline to do. But it just shows that, again, with measurement, journey mapping, to me, why do it unless you can measure it? So we look at it monthly. We track all of our key journeys on a monthly basis, and we can see if we've put improvements in market, what that does to our simplicity score, which at the end of the day, yeah, you can recommend to a friend, yes. But is it easy? Is it easy to do business? Is it easy to get your query answered? Is it easy to get a refund? And those things are where we spend our time in terms of removing pain points to make it easy for our customer to do business.
Thank you so much. We are going to have to leave it there. Thank you so much, Allison, for your time and generosity with what you've shared with us today. If Ian is like everyone else, Sun has said, thank you so much, really insightful. So thank you very much. Thank you, everybody. I know some people have already started dropping off, but thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And everybody have a fabulous day. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you.